Every now and then, the movie business will be given a piece of work that completely rocks the industry. A movie that transcends the expectations of filmmaking. Today's unknown masterpiece does exactly that. Listen, this one's got all the action scenes, it's got all the comedy, it's got a badass main character. I just don't get why people aren't talking about this absolute classic. Why isn't this the highest grossing movie ever? I don't understand why. It's a dog shit movie. The movie's pretty bad. That's why. Anyway, I'm not gonna make you wait any longer. The movie is called 12 Rounds. No! Dude. It was directed by Rennie Harlin, who, despite being the most successful Finnish film director in the history of Hollywood, I've only heard his name like twice ever. This movie also stars none other than John Cena. Get used to that shitty joke. I'll be making it a lot. And before you get excited, this isn't like cool peacemaker John Cena. This is pre-Hollywood actor John Cena. He was still a full-time wrestler at this point, which means the most acting he had done was pretending to be Eminem's distant cousin.
You got no hydraulics in your car. You got a sexual sickness. His car bounces up and down because he sits on this stick shift. Word life.
Anyway, enough with the interesting stuff. Let's just get to the movie. We open with a freaking sick military-style montage where they do a bunch of freaking cool secret FBI military stuff. I don't know why they went so hard on this montage. Tell me right now, which one out of these two screens is the movie? Which one is it? If you said the one on the right, you'd be wrong. They're both Call of Duty.
On your feet, soldier! We are leaving!
Anyway, we cut to the main character's house. His name is Danny. He's a cop. He's also played by John Cena. In this entire opening shot, we find out that Danny has a wife and dog, and he loves them both very much. And that's basically it. That's the character. That's what he does. He loves his wife. We cut back to the FBI montage and find out about the second and only other character that matters in this story. The main bad guy, Miles Jackson. He's played by Aidan Gillen, who's actually been in a lot of stuff. He's decently popular. You probably recognize him from somewhere. He kind of looks like Edward Norton if he like got punched in the face a little. We find out he's like fucking crazy, right? He like kills people. He's ruthless. He sells illegal stuff. Also, turns out he's just inhumanly smart.
He takes your bishop, knight to c4, pawn to a7, rook to block. He takes your queen. It's all over but the client.
Even though he's like the most wanted man alive, he just decides to take a walk around New Orleans. Anyways, he's like doing some kind of deal and it turns out to be a setup, but Miles is like super duper smart. I mean, just look at that brain. It's massive. I'm gonna be honest, his plan is way too complicated and profoundly flawed to go in depth here, but basically he double crosses someone who is double crossing someone who is set up to double cross someone. And eventually he just gets away. So Miles gets away and meets up with his girlfriend, who's hyped as hell because he just secured a briefcase full of expensive diamonds. That doesn't really matter. What's important is that it sets up the entire base of the movie. This base being that Miles loves his girlfriend. This is like an extremely two-dimensional introduction to a plot, and if I had any feeling other than existential dread in my life at this point, I would have turned this movie off. Anyway, the bad couple gets away, but not before Danny randomly bumps into them and just decides to pull them over. It's a very epic scene where very epic stuff happens.
Shot me in my ass.
In your ass?
Miles and his girlfriend try to run away, but Danny ends up stopping them by, and I shit you not, moving a boat on wheels in the middle of the road. What is this? A fucking God of War quick time event? Are we on a timer? What's going on? Through all the chaos from the crash, the girlfriend actually ends up dead, and Miles is like hella pissed off, alright? He kind of sort of threatens Danny, and then he just gets arrested. Now, everything I've explained so far has been the setup to the story's main plot. If you were someone who watched the trailers to this movie while it was coming out, you would just now be given what you were promised. Anyway, I'm gonna try to make the rest of this very snappy, so we're not here all day. We skip to 1 year later. Turns out Danny is living pretty good. He got a promotion. He's still with his wife. Life is pretty good. Except he gets a phone call from the Democratic Republic of China.
Yeah. Why the hell are you calling me?
Just kidding. It's actually Miles, and he basically explains that he broke out of prison, which like, fucking what? Miles explains to Danny on the phone that he has set up 12 rounds of challenges for him to overcome. The whole idea behind this is that 1 year ago, Miles' girlfriend was taken away from him, so Miles is going to do the same thing to Danny round by round, starting with his car and house, which immediately fucking blew up in front of him. Wasn't really a challenge, this one. He just blew up the fucking house he lived in. El Bozo, I guess. So that was round one. Round two starts, and we find out that Miles kidnapped Danny's wife. This acts as Danny's motivation throughout the entire show because he's promised that he'll get his wife back if he completes all 12 rounds. That's the whole point. Beat 12 rounds, get wife back. I'm not sure why Danny would just believe a guy who's notorious for backstabbing and illegal activity, but I guess he doesn't really have much of a choice. But Danny then has the most badass line in any movie ever.
I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna hunt you down and I'm gonna kill you.
God damn, I want to be like him. He's so cool. Oh, and that's round 2, by the way. Miles kidnaps Danny's wife. That's the round. We're now in round 3, and Danny's told to go back where he first met Miles. Danny and his partner get there, and there's these numbers spray painted on the wall, and the movie acts like this is some impossible code to solve for some reason. It turns out that it's just like coordinates that directly lead to another location, and for some reason, Danny's partner is like, whoa, how did you know that?
Longitude and latitude. That's a location, that's where we're gonna find the phone. Come on.
Longitude and latitude. How the hell you know about this stuff, Danny?
The coordinates lead Danny to the fire department that his brother works at. Danny immediately thinks that Miles planted another bomb, so he gets everyone to evacuate the building. But because Danny made it to the building in time, nothing happens. Round 3 was timed. Did I mention that? It was a time thing. I'm not sure how Miles knows if Danny made it there on time, since we keep cutting back to him and see that he's like in a completely different area. But yeah, he's big brain, remember? Round 4 is next. It's pretty complicated, so I'll just let the movie explain this one.
There's a fire in the Orleans Savings and Loan.
In the memory chip of the phone you're holding are the numbers of 2 security deposit boxes located on the 10th floor. To win, simply grab those boxes by 5:55 exactly.
You gotta be shitting me.
What's actually hilarious about this movie, though, is how everyone around Danny just lets him do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, imagine something like this actually happened to someone in real life, and when they show up to enter a building on fire, the firemen are just like, yeah man, 11th floor, here's a jacket, go ahead. He makes it to the top and finds the boxes, but the writers put in a Master Shyamalan-inspired twist. I was not expecting this, guys. He was dreaming the whole time. I'm joking. I wish, though. The actual twist is that both boxes have timers. One of the boxes is a bomb, because of course it is. The other box has a clue for the next round. Oh, and this is round 5, by the way. They don't really make it obvious, so they literally have to tell you every time a round starts.
Round 1,
Round 2.
round 3, round 4.
Round 5.
For this round, Danny has to make it to another location across town within 7 minutes, or else the bomb goes off. Not sure how he makes it in time, but he just does. He gets to his destination, he throws the box with the bomb in the water, and it goes off without hurting anyone. The other box has a room key for a hotel nearby, which kicks off round 6. Danny and the FBI enter this room and find pictures of Danny's wife tied up. Turns out that's where she was literally 30 minutes ago. They just missed her. But not all hope is lost, because the good guys find out that Miles is actually still in the building. So they look through some security footage and find out that he's potentially on the roof. To access this part of the building, you have to take a really old elevator for some reason. It's the only way. But when Danny enters this elevator with one of the staff members who operates it, it breaks, I guess. Miles somehow booby-trapped this elevator so it would start free-falling once they reached a certain height.
60 seconds, limited resources, and Willie's unfortunate girth. There's only time for one of you to survive.
There's no way this is a real movie, right? There's no fucking way. Anyway, long story short, Danny makes it out no problem, and even though he tries to help the worker get out with him, he ultimately can't do it, so sadly the worker gets eliminated and sent back to the pregame lobby. Anyway, round 7, and Danny is led on a train, and much to his surprise, his wife is actually there. But then we find out that Miles is there too, and has like an entire plan set up with handcuffs, and finger scanners, and a bomb. Honestly, I don't care anymore. I don't care. The plan goes south, and Miles escapes with Danny's wife again. Round 8 starts, and it's the shortest yet. Danny's given like 5 phone numbers, and he's got to call one of them at random and just hope it's the right one. I'm not kidding. We're now in round 9, and there's like a streetcar with its brakes disabled. Danny essentially has to catch up to it and somehow stop it before everyone on it dies. At this point, you're probably asking yourself, how the hell did one guy set up all of this without anyone noticing? Well, I've got good news for you, because that plot hole is explained in the sequel, 12 Rounds Reloaded. I'm kidding, it's not. Don't watch that movie, it's horrible. These 12 round movies are actually made by WWE Studios, which is just the wrestling promotion trying to make movies. They've made like 50 something movies, and I'm not kidding, all of them are absolute garbage, except for like one of them, which was actually really good. Anyway, so during round 9, we get some epic action scenes, some of which are ripped straight out of Spider-Man. But eventually, Danny comes through and somehow slows it down enough to not hurt anyone in the process. Also, it's not said during this entire segment, but round 10 also happened during this scene. I think round 9 was specifically getting to the streetcar, and then round 10 was slowing it down. They don't really tell you. It's like the writers made a movie called 11 Rounds, but then the producers were like, you know what, 12 rounds just sounds better. Let's just add a fucking round. So they just randomly had to add one somewhere.
I was like, $10,000 just looks better in a title. It'll get more views.
So now we're at round 11, and that's the wildest one yet, because Danny is given no instructions at all. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there on the phone, and then his best friend, his partner from earlier, just fucking dies.
Bitch.
This is an epic movie so far, guys. So now we're at the 12th and final round. Danny's wife has a bomb strapped to her body, and Danny's fingerprint is the only way to deactivate it. Danny has to find her before it blows up. But before he can even think about that, Danny and the FBI figure out that Miles was tricking everyone this entire time.
Fed's been pulling all the old hundreds and fifties out of circulation. the entire southeast alive.
You see, guys, it was never about the revenge on Danny. It was actually about stealing a bunch of money because bad guy like money. So it's revealed that everything Miles has done up to this point, all the elaborate traps, all that setup, was just a distraction while he steals a bunch of money from a bank. Seems a little bit much to me, but okay. Like, a lot of it just doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Like, why was he on the train? It just, whatever. It's fine. So now we're at a point where Miles is escaping with all this money and Danny's wife in a helicopter. At first, I thought it was really stupid that he didn't just shoot the wife yet, but she's actually the one piloting the helicopter, so I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he's the pilot, great!
So now we have Danny, who makes it to the helicopter in time and does that really cool superhero jump thing where he hangs off from the bottom. Every single odd is stacked against Danny. He can barely hold on to save his life. But don't worry, his wife has his back.
Danny, he's got a gun!
How is this a real movie? How is that real? Anyway, I'm not gonna act interested. Danny makes it in the helicopter, and now we have Danny and Miles straight up just having a fist fight in the helicopter for like a solid 10 minutes. It's kind of intense, and of course the guy who's like 3 times bigger and probably eats pre-workout for breakfast wins. Everyone knew the winner was gonna be John Cena. But even though he won, Miles still has one trick up his sleeve. You'll never get this, a bomb. Because of course he does. Bombs are like his whole thing. That's what he did the whole movie. So Miles' last effort is to blow up this helicopter with everyone inside it. And what does Danny decide to do? Probably the most obvious thing to do in this scenario. He grabs his wife and jumps out of the plane 50 feet in the air. But that's not all. He also lands in a pool on a roof of a random building. This wasn't something the character planned. There was no mention of like a pool jump thing earlier. It's just a random pool by chance. He just jumped and there it was. Oh, and the helicopter blows up with Miles inside of it. Danny and his wife kiss in the pool while dollar bills on fire rain from the sky. And then the movie just ends. That was the entire movie. 12 rounds, more like 12 rounds of epicness. Paul Abdul rates this one a solid 12 rounds out of 12 rounds reloaded, the sequel, The Return of John Cena, The Family Man. And yeah, thanks for watching.
I'm gonna hunt you down and I'm gonna boobies.